Hey guys, today is the first part of a two-part coaching video. We'll first look at the roles, responsibilities, styles, skills and behaviours of coaches. Alright, so what is a coaching role? So there's many roles that coaches have to play, and that sort of thing is a position that they might have to take. Whereas a responsibility is more like a duty or a thing that they actually have to do depending on the role that they perform. So I've got some examples for you. So the different roles are on the left there in bold. So for example, motivator, scientist, analyst, fitness trainer. So they're the different roles that a coach will have to step into, because as we know, coaching itself is a multifaceted thing. There's lots of different things a coach has to be able to do. Now the responsibilities that the coach have depend on those roles. So for example, if they are a counsellor, then the responsibility of stepping into that role is providing advice to an athlete. So another example could be if they're stepping into the role of being an analyst, then their responsibility would be to analyse the gameplay of other athletes, devise tactics, game plans for the athlete, that sort of thing. Now, a coach doesn't necessarily think, oh, okay, today I have to be a motivator, or tomorrow I'm going to be a dietitian. It just happens to be that whenever a particular need of the athlete comes up, then the coach will deal with that in a particular way. So it's sort of we're sort of just putting categories onto different roles and responsibilities that the coach actually has to engage in. Alright, so there's some different coaching styles. Now this is different to roles and responsibilities. A coaching style is the way someone will coach, particularly in a training session and also when gameplay is happening. So each coach will generally have a particular style. And those styles can be hybrids of others, so you don't necessarily have to box a particular coach into one of them. There might be a mix of a few, and it would also be situational specific as well. But generally you'll find that a coach will fall along a particular continuum. So there's three main ones that we'll talk about today. So that's authoritarian, or sometimes people call that autocratic. We'll look at democratic, which sometimes people call cooperative, casual, which is like the laissez-faire sort of coach, and then there's also other ones like delegatory and also friendly. So we'll look at the authoritarian features. This sort of coach is very easy to picture. They're strict, they're disciplined, they're very critical. The sort of feedback they give to players is not really constructive. It's more critical feedback, so it's criticism. They don't really consider the opinion of athletes. They sort of think that their way is the right way and that's it. No one is to argue with that. And they place a very strong emphasis on winning. It's sort of like a win at all costs sort of thought base, and also the decisions that are made by the coach alone. So basically, in engaging in the authoritarian style of coaching, the coach puts a lot of pressure on themselves to perform, because when they don't win the games but they still act as authoritarian, people will question their style or their method of doing things. The only way that this actual style of coaching is successful is when athletes are winning based on this. People also find this style of coach very negative, sort of very grating, and not many people can handle it. Generally, it's more suited to the very elite athletes, certainly not to little children, because it is a very intense sort of coaching style. Alright, so the democratic coaching style is sort of somewhere in between. A democratic coach will generally consult players and other professionals, and they'll get everyone's opinion on how to do things and sort of make the best of every world, and sort of try and come up with a really ideal sort of training structure. They'll definitely include athletes in decisions, but not so much so that they lose control. So for example, they might give them a choice in training. They'll say you can do this or you can do this. So they've still decided on the options, but the athlete will then sort of get the feeling of control, because then they've had some input into what they're choosing. They'll also give constructive criticism, so when they give feedback to the athletes, they won't be negative or derogatory. It will be more of how an athlete can improve, sort of good job this time, but you could do something like this next time. And they also understand the importance of each individual athlete. They don't look at athletes as machines like the autocratic style. They will look at individuals or individual athletes as humans, and they'll realize that they actually have feelings, and that they will respond to different ways of talking to them and different styles of coaching. Alright, so the coaching style of casual is fairly laid back. It's very relaxed. The training sessions are usually very poorly planned, because the coach, although they might be a really nice person, their emphasis is not on winning. It's more of an emphasis on having fun and having a good time, which is fine for some athletes who may be just in it to do some exercise and to have a good time. There's particular people in the world who will play sport just for the fun of it and just for the social aspect, and they won't care for anything too extreme. The problem with this sort of coach, though, is they might be almost detached from the athletes. They won't really care for their development as athletes, and they can develop independence in players who rely on too much instruction, though. So when you have athletes who sort of need people to baby them and to give them every single instruction and sort of hold their hand along the way, a casual sort of coach is actually quite good for these people, because it sort of lessens their reliance on the coach and forces them to increase their independence. Alright, so just in summary, there's coaches who will engage in a variety of roles just because the nature of coaching asks them to do so, and they'll also generally fall on the continuum of coaching. So I've just got a little diagram there for you. So you range from casual all the way up to authoritarian or autocratic, and generally a coach will fall somewhere in between. Alright, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.